When you go onto the DJI website to pre-order your RS3 Pro, they will bombard you with images of the FX6 in complete harmony with their RS3 Pro gimbal. When you watch their launch video, you will be shocked to see the FX6 mentioned by name in the launch video footage of the RS3 Pro.
We have also extended the carbon fiber arms to allow for more balancing space for professional cameras, making it a perfect fit for cameras like the FX6 or C70 with 24-70 f2.8 lenses.
However, when you stand by your door and you wait for that delivery man to come and you open up your RS3 Pro and you plug it into your FX6, you will find no compatibility between the two. Not only are they not compatible, when you go onto the website and check the compatibility list, they have no information for the FX6. Who is to blame for this oversight? What part of late-stage capitalism are we in, where they say, hey, you can do this with your product, and then you find out that it's not supported by any official means of any kind? I don't know whose fault this is, but the FX6 is an incredible camera to fly on a gimbal. It is small and compact, it has a beautiful sensor, it has internal ND filters, and it lacks stabilization of the sensor. So for many reasons, it's a good idea to fly your FX6 on a gimbal. However, either DJI or Sony has not decided to allow us to control that camera with the gimbal controls as are so common. Now, I use my RS2 in this setup right here, where I have dual handles. And this provides me with great comforts and allows me to shoot for longer, but it causes problems because I'm not able to start and stop recording. That's the main issue that I'm trying to solve with this product that I'm going to talk about. I do not have all the answers, but today I can tell you about a product that retails for around $100 and was able to solve my problems with the RS2 and the FX6. The Libec zFC-L is designed to live on your tilt-a-ring and give you wired recording control and a zoom rocker as well as focus control to your Sony camera with a LANC port like the FX6. Now, I personally got this dual handle rig to make my time with the RS2 nice and light and easy breezy. I wanted to have a simple setup that allowed me to use the strength of my arms in order to move the camera and use it for a long period of time. I was very happy with that, but I found that you really do need some way to control the camera. Otherwise, you're going to have to lean the camera on your knee or do something so that you don't have to be holding both handles at all times. So I was in desperate need of a recording control contraption. Now, I was using for a little while the wireless app for the FX6 with my phone here, but that made it so that I couldn't use the Raven Eye, and it offered other challenges like when you go into S&Q mode, it would no longer give you the ability to see your footage. So as I was using that as the main monitor, I was having a lot of trouble. So I was still looking for something to be even better. So now with this little Libec contraption, I'm able to press to start and stop record. I'm able to do some focus options, and I'm able to use clear image zoom to zoom in and out. Now, this product is very well made. It's clearly designed to be well used, powerful device that works for years and years and years to come. And I hope that even if a later gimbal that I buy does support control, I can still use this on a tripod somewhere or for some other camera down the line. I think a link controller like this could be useful for multiple scenarios where you can't reach the camera. Obviously, the biggest and most important button that I find is the record button. And so now that I mount it down here on my right side handle, I'm able to reach down and just press the record button quickly. I can use then the tally lights on the FX6 to know when it's recording, as well as looking at the monitor, and then I can press it again to stop recording. Honestly, if it did just that for $100, I would be happy. The length of the cable is perfectly fine. You could certainly get it rigged up in some more complex scenarios and still have enough cable lead. But this does not provide a solution for something like recording on a car rig or putting the FX6 up on a crane. You would need to extend this cable. So because of the cable, you are going to be limited to not being able to do your infinity rolls And sometimes when you flip from right side up to underslung mode, you may have some challenges as well. But like I said, I think all of those things are worth it. And if worse comes to worse, I can very quickly unplug this, set it off to the side, do whatever I need to do by just pressing buttons on the camera, and then I'm good as gold. I really just think DJI and Sony need to get together and figure out a solution for this, because this is a stopgap at best. Another thing that the Libec zFC-L has on it is a zoom rocker. Now I personally use clear image zoom, and I don't find myself using it all that often, but it is a great way to extend the reach of your lens, and it can be really useful on a gimbal where maybe you zoom into 24 and you're still just not quite getting what you need. It's great to be able to quickly zoom in just a little bit more, and it really extends the life of your lens. The first focus button pushes in through the focus range, and the second button pulls out through the focus range. So having those focus buttons on here just makes it so there's not a reason for you to be touching the camera. Every time you have to touch the camera while it's on the gimbal, especially with this dual handles where you really need both hands on the grips at all times, anything that can make it so you don't have to touch the camera is a win in my book. The worst part of the focus buttons is they're really only useful in manual focus. So you are going to have to quickly flip this switch on the front or do some other way of locking your camera into manual focus. But then you do have the tools that you would need in order to manually focus your lens if it is an autofocus lens like the ones I use. I understand a lot of people use the manual focus pullers that are inside the DJI system, and I think that's great. But when you have lenses that don't have great focus throws and aren't consistent, like cinema glass where they can actually use that focus puller, it's really not very useful. So with my lightweight setup, I'm happy to flip that switch and just know that I have the ability to do the equivalent of turning this ring just using buttons right here by my thumb. And I think that's a worthwhile endeavor because I use photo glass in order to get the looks that I'm going for. The record button truly is the most important button on this product, but I do find the other two useful for their given purposes and their given times. I know there are a lot of people out there using the RS3 Pro and the RS2 with their FX6, especially for the reasons that I mentioned before. And I have found that this is the best, cheapest, most reliable solution for getting that recording control onto a handle or somewhere that's easier for you to grab. I don't know who is to blame and why this is such a big problem, but I really wish that Sony and DJI would work together to get recording control to a native platform on the RS2 and the RS3 Pro. I do find it really dishonest for them to use images and mention the FX6 in their promotional materials and truly not have any way to control that camera while it's flying on the gimbal. Pressing the record button is a vital function, a very normal part of using a gimbal, and it just is very silly that it doesn't quite work with this setup that is very, very powerful for all kinds of shoots, whether it's events or real estate or narrative work or documentary work. I think this is a great setup, and it's just a bummer that these two companies can't work their differences together to make it happen. I can understand if DJI is like, hey, we don't want you to fly the FX6 and the RS2. It's not big enough. We don't think it fits. But the fact that they made the long plates, which is something that you need to fly the FX6 on the RS2 or the RS3 Pro, the fact that they use it in the advertising, it is extremely dishonest and annoying to me that they would do that and not provide that basic functionality that I think is necessary. I was able to pick up this product for $100 at B&H. They have a website and they do have other options and other kinds of remotes. I really wish I could get this remote to work with my Atomos Ninja V recorders. That would be really nice to have a record button that I could press from some distance away, but for now it's really great at what I need it to do, and I'm happy to be using this on my gimbal setup.